Police and Fire Commission meeting, recorded October 26, 2020.
Okay, I do have 3 o'clock. I'm going to call to order this emergency meeting of the Stevens Point Police and Fire Commission. Leanne, would you be kind enough to take the roll for us?
Carlson?
I'm here.
Hirschling?
Here.
Moore?
Here.
Ostrowski?
I'm here.
And Westcott.
Present. Item 2, commissioners, you have had for some time now, because it's been in various stages of drafting, since last July when we started talking about the potential for this as one of the many responses to the coronavirus pandemic. You have the updated resolution regarding the state of emergency to be declared in response to the COVID-19 cases at the Stevens Point Police Department. Commissioners, as you know, the declaration provides Fire Chief Robert Finn with the authority to take whatever steps are necessary to ensure the fire department maintains safe levels of staffing and service in the community. I'd like everybody except for commissioners to mute, please. Turn your mics off. We've got some background noise here. So if everybody would go to mute, unless you're a commissioner, I would appreciate that. This is a very serious matter we're dealing with here today. The commission provides the fire chief with the authority to take whatever steps are necessary to ensure the fire department maintains safe staffing levels to protect the people in our community. Bob, what I want you to do is report to the commission your request for the emergency declaration. Fire Chief Finn, you have the floor. If the rest of you would mute, I would appreciate it. Robert?
Thank you, President Westcott. First of all, I'd like to take this time to thank Police and Fire Commission for all their support and working behind the scenes in this issue. I also like to take this time to thank my management team and the men and women of Stevens Point Fire Department who have worked countless hours during this pandemic. The Stevens Point Fire Department has hit could be a critical level of people in quarantine, so for the operations of fire and EMS. I requested the emergency order to allow us, if need be, to take separate actions as we deem necessary to provide the proper services to the city residents. We are currently have 14 people in quarantine. We are working with the Department of Health from Portage County. We are in the process of drafting a letter signed by myself and Dr. Clark, our medical director, Dr. Clark out of Ascension, to follow the protocols of the Wisconsin Department of Health Services COVID-19 Health Alert number 18, which is research for health departments to support quarantine and isolation requirements, return to work for healthcare personnel. Other than that, that's what I have.
All right, let me start with a few questions. I know other commissioners may have some for you too. One of the questions that I received in a media inquiry, I think I can address. They wanted to know if they're all firefighters, EMS, or a mix. All of our firefighters are paramedics, so I think that's pretty easy to answer. The question that has come up is, do we know where the members, were the fire department employees, were they exposed to the virus? Is it tied to a specific event, a number of different events, all on duty? Can you give us any more, specifics on the incident, or they may have, or is it just strictly in the line of duty doing their jobs as paramedics, Chief?
I have to be careful how to answer that question, sir, because I don't want to violate any HIPAA requirements that we have.
I understand.
But I can tell you that the men and women of the Stevens Point Fire Department, after working all these countless hours on and off duty, are always aware of the potential of COVID-19. And on and off duty have taken every measure they possibly can to be safe. But as far as on duty and off duty, I cannot get into that specifics right now.
All right, Assistant Chief Gims, I'm going to ask that you join this discussion. For those of you who are regular followers of the monthly Police and Fire Commission meetings, you know that we have a major portion of each month's agenda dedicated to our responses in emergency services, police, fire, and EMS when it comes to the coronavirus in Stevens Point. Joseph, what can you add to this dialogue about prevention measures, and what advice would you have for our community? We want to remember that this is taken to protect our community, and we have to be cognizant of the fact that we need to continue to work as a team to serve this community. Chief Gemza, what would you add, please?
I would agree that we need to maintain our state of readiness to protect the community. It is the men and women of Stevens Point Fire Department take that responsibility very serious. Up until this point, we had been able to operate without having to ask you for these operational guidelines or emergency orders, or work under Health Department Alert number 18. And for that, we've been very grateful. But as we know that Wisconsin and central Wisconsin and rural Wisconsin is becoming a fairly hot spot for COVID-19, it's time for us to move forward in our next plan and protecting the community and our members of the department.
All right, maybe before we go any further, just since we have so many visitors here today, and I'm delighted to see so many people joining the commission, that basically the resolution on the state of emergency is that the commission, pursuant to its authority under Wisconsin Statute 6213 of the Wisconsin Statutes, and the general authority to oversee operations of the Stevens Point Fire Service and for protection of the community, is issuing this emergency directive. That the fire chief, pursuant to this declaration, is authorized to modify work schedules of firefighter employees and to reassign personnel as appropriate to ensure the proper public safety and protection, to take such action as deemed necessary, including modification of work schedules and assignments of other employees or employees to maintain proper staffing level. The declaration of emergency will be remaining in effect for as long as necessary. And briefly, there are many other parts, but the other operative part that I want the community to be aware of is the fire chief, under this resolution, if approved, is required to notify the commission on a weekly basis of the necessity for emergency staffing and work assignments to ensure the public safety of our community. Commissioners, do you have questions for Chief Finn? Or Chief Finn, go ahead, sir. You have the floor.
Thank you, sir. I just want to let everybody know that's on this, that this request was taken out of abundance of caution to protect the men and women of the Stevens Point Fire Department, but also protect the community that we serve. Okay? This emergency resolution, once we get through this crisis period, my intent is to go back before the Police and Fire Commission and say, we've gotten through this period, we can end it. If in 3 weeks we have to have it again, we'll have to have another meeting. This is not an open-ended resolution in my mind. I have no idea how long COVID-19 is going to last, but we are at a critical point for staffing. We could be at a critical point of staffing for the Stevens Point Fire Department. That's why I'm coming before you today. But
all right, Chief Finn.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Chief, I was just wondering, concerning the staffing, is it a mutual aid thing? Would we rely on that to augment the shortages, or the National Guard? Is that a possibility? What is the plan for augmenting the staffing shortage?
Back in March, or end of February, beginning of March, when COVID-19 became reality in this area, My management team did a great job of developing manpower plans, new policies and procedures that we will enact under the state of emergency. We have mutual aid agreements signed with other fire departments as a last resort, where they will send over firefighter paramedics if need be. But by this order of emergency is stuff that we drew up back in February and March allows us to enact. We did not write these over. We did not write these over the weekend. These have always been in place, just in case we needed it. But we do have plans A, B, C, and D, and we'll probably come up with E and F, because since I requested this meeting through President Westcott, things have changed 3 times already today.
Okay.
Chief Gemza, were you trying to get my attention, sir?
Yes, Chief Finn is correct. It's not the intention of us to maintain this state of emergency or this order for a long period of time. The Department of Health Act 18, with the letter that the chief mentioned, that will help us with our staffing to allow people back in, like the hospitals do, says that we need to notify the health department and our medical director basically every 30 days to extend it and to let them know that things are going forward. So in other words, all of these things that we've done are to protect the short term and allow for the long term. Does that make sense?
Guys, and that's
Yeah.
one of the reasons. That's
Yep.
one of the reasons the resolution has language in there that Chief Finn must notify the Police and Fire Commission on a weekly basis for the necessity of the emergency staffing and work assignment order to remain in effect. So it will be reviewed weekly. Commissioner Kirschling, Commissioner Moore, Commissioner Ostrowski, do you have questions for?
I have a couple for the chief.
Go ahead,
Chief,
Commissioner
first,
Ostrowski.
number one is the fact is, when these quarantines started, were we at full strength at that time in manpower? And second is, our biggest concern is if a major fire breaks out. Is that where we will have backup help from the other departments?
Well, first, answer your first question, Commissioner Ostrowski. No, we are not at full staff. We had a couple people resign and go to other departments.
Okay.
The second one is that as far as fires go, we are Mavis Division 110 in the state of Wisconsin. By just talking on the radio, we can get 20 fire engines, 15 trucks, and a couple squads here within a half hour. That's a mutual agreement. This also allows us to fulfill any and all obligations we have to do to provide EMS services to the people of the city and Portage County.
I could realize that would be the main concern at this time, but I'm just thinking that also compounds our ability to fight fires then. Luckily, we haven't had any major ones that I know of.
But even with our metro response, and if we do have reduced manpower, the company officers have been instructed to elevate the alarms to get our box alarm companies and our second alarm companies, fire companies to the scene faster.
Thank you, Chief.
Commissioner Kirschling, you were next.
Go ahead, Moore.
Commissioner
I
Moore.
was just going to say, being a former alder, I'm not sure I'm comfortable with the open-ended nature of this agreement, that perhaps an end date, sunset date for, I don't know, the end of this year or something to make sure that it goes away. Just so we're clear on that a little more. Not that I don't trust anybody, but there's been problems in past with things like this not having a closing date on them.
Well, and you're right, and that's why your experience as a longtime alderman and mine as a longtime mayor of this community, why the language is in there that the chief has to report to the commission on a weekly basis for us to review, so that it just doesn't become this open-ended. And we've heard from the chief. Commissioner, I'm satisfied there are sufficient provisions in here to address your concern, sir.
What would be the tool then to allow the rest of the commission to know that the emergency situation is over and that we're going back to normal rules?
The chief will notify you. And okay, Bobby, you want to take it first, then I can add to it if you'd like.
Commissioner Moore, In my weekly report to the Police and Fire Commission, I will let you know where we are as manpower. And I will make a recommendation that this emergency order can end or continue. What we are finding out though is during the months of March till now, because of other people being sick and dealing with this at other times in the firehouse, our personnel are stressed out, okay?
Sure.
They are working countless hours. And I will assure you that that's also, their mental health is being taken into account, okay? So you will get a weekly update at any time. During that weekly update, the police, as far as I understand, the Police and Fire Commission can say, the emergency's over with. You want to do another one, come back later.
I was just wanting it to be clear that we would have a meeting or there would be some kind of statement to make it clear for everyone so that everyone knows what's going on.
Absolutely, Commissioner Moore. And not only that, as you are well aware, because your calendar is filling up, our next regular meeting rotates up next week. We have a series of meetings scheduled for the week after that in November. So there will be many opportunities already, on the calendar for commissioners to review the update from Chief Finn. Absolutely, we are going to stay on top of this. Commissioner Kirkland, did you have a question, sir?
Let's see if we can see Becca.
Chief Finn, do you have enough personnel to staff both stations?
As of right now, yes, we do.
Okay. Yeah, all my other questions were answered.
All right. Well, I think it's clear that, very clear that our firefighters, our paramedics, and our police officers are part of this community's front line, our first line of defense against the pandemic. Now, the cases of COVID within these departments are showing the very real risk that these men and women face every day in trying to keep us safe. This virus is taking a toll on the emotional and well-being of public safety and health workers who really can't go a day without worrying about their families. We are prayerful that they continue to be protected and pray for a safe recovery, a quick recovery for all of our firefighters who have been infected and need to recover. Before I go to a motion, Chief Zinner, I want you to quickly spend a moment. The question logically might come up, how are things in the police department? If we have firefighters that are down, how are things for staffing in our police department, sir?
Well, we have obviously been impacted as other businesses in town. We do have individuals that are out. We're also dealing with an uptick on the flu. So we do have some cross issues to deal with on there. We do have a bit of a different position that we're in under the essential workers, where we may be able to have individuals exposed, but still with proper precautions, be able to work at the police department. But we are continuing to follow CDC guidelines, and we're certainly not in a position that unfortunately our fire department is in now.
And for both chiefs and for all of you who have joined us, COVID-19, our regular update is our liaison, Alderperson Kneebone can attest on a monthly basis. We encourage you to, at least if you can't join us live, for lots of information, important community health information, I would encourage you to at least go into the city's video archives and take a look at the current meeting. Are there other questions from the commissioners regarding the resolution? Chief Finn.
I'd be remiss if I didn't thank Chief Zenner. I forgot him earlier. Chief Zenner and I talk probably 4 or 5 times a week at least. We know what's going on in each other's departments. We have supported each other throughout this whole pandemic, and I just wanted to thank Chief Zenner for his support also.
All right. Do any other commissioners have questions on the resolution? If not, I certainly think that it's appropriate to move approval of the resolution regarding.
The mayor is looking to talk.
I'm sorry, what?
The mayor is looking to talk.
Well, I have a motion on the table. I'll be happy to recognize him when I'm done. that the motion is to approve the resolution regarding the state of emergency as has been presented to the Police and Fire Commission. Is there a second to my motion?
I'll second that.
All right, second by Commissioner Carlson. Before I go to the vote, Mr. Mayor, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank the members of the Police and Fire Commission for their diligent service. You know, each and every one of you have been appointed because of a specific skill set or range of experience that you bring to the table. And that cannot be more emphasized when you have a situation like this, where you not only need to know as much as you possibly can about our emergency services, how our fire station, how our paramedic system, and how our police department runs, but have at least a grasp of the knowledge and the requirements of state statute, of DHS statutes. It is not an easy task to be a police and fire commissioner. And the same is true across the board on all of our committees and commissions. We choose people based on their experience and what they can bring to the table. So I thank you all for your service, and I hope people understand the difficulties that a citizen volunteer commission member has to go through on an average, and of course in this case, an not so average basis. So thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I certainly appreciate those remarks, and I think I can speak for my colleagues in saying we appreciate that. Folks, I realize we have a presidential candidate who says that all the time, right? I think today is an important reminder, a real important reminder of how important it is for all of us to focus on the health and well-being of this community, the community that we love. And in doing everything we can as a community to diminish the very real threat of COVID, I think it's an important reminder. This is an important first step. We certainly are thoughtful of the work that is in front of us on COVID and other topics. Leanne, I have a motion to approve the state of emergency. It has been seconded. Would you kindly call the roll for commissioners, please?
Carlson,
Yes.
Herschling,
Yes.
Moore,
Aye.
Ostrowski,
Yes.
Westcott.
Yes, the motion is adopted unanimously. The state of emergency in response to COVID-19 cases at the Stevens Point Fire Department is hereby declared by the Police and Fire Commission. At that, I will move for adjournment and thank all of you who took a few minutes today to join us for this, well, this very important meeting. I will move to adjourn.
So
Second.
moved.
Second by Commissioner Ostrowski. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed,
Aye,
say no.
aye, aye.
Thank you very much. And
Thank you,
good luck.
gentlemen, and everybody.
Good luck to all of
Have
you.
a good day. Enjoy the
Good
day.
luck. Good luck to all of you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Videos of these meetings are available for viewing on the city's website, stevenspoint.com/videos.